"You'll get a registration at the dump," laughed the husband with his mistress in court having taken everything away. But they didn't know what the wife was planning. The autumn wind, pierced by icy coolness, rustled the leaves of the maples painted in crimson and golden hues. The city was waking up after a dark, damp night, breathing exhaust fumes from cars and the aroma of coffee from numerous cafes amidst the stream of cars rushing to get their owners to work. A minibus moved steadily where Megan was sitting. Her face, usually calm and open, appeared tense today, which was unusual for an experienced ophthalmic surgeon who knew almost everything about the complexity of the human eye. Her phone bubbled invitingly in her bag. Megan smiled. It was probably a notification from her online art course group, where she had recently enrolled. Just for the soul, medicine is one thing, but sometimes her hand itched for the brush and easel. What's more, Megan had even made a few friends there with whom she communicated anonymously during calm shifts or breaks at work, especially with Michael, a fellow student from the same course as hers. He was a true master of painting, a God-given talent, a gem whose simple watercolor paintings captivated viewers, usually in moments of emotional distress. Megan would also pick up a pencil and notebook and start drawing whatever came to her mind. At that moment, most of the time it was some nonsense, but sometimes she produced something quite good. Unfortunately, right now Megan didn't have time for that. And what drawing today? She had to undergo a very serious trial, probably not the hardest one she had faced in her life. Divorce, which would destroy a family that seemed to be built on a solid foundation of mutual respect and love which had lasted for 20 years. Megan shuddered as the minius sudden brake sharply outside. Houses, shops, and bustling pedestrians flashed by the ordinary city life that now felt foreign, distant, and indifferent to her. Megan nodded encouragingly. "Let's go," he said, and led his client to the necessary door. The courtroom was crowded. Megan almost immediately spotted her husband sitting in the front row with a young beauty. Whitney was a winner. She wore a bright dress with a deep neckline. Her hair flowed down in a velvet cascade over her shoulders. She was laughing and whispering something to Donald. A little further away, with an arrogant demeanor, sat Donald's lawyer, Frederick Campbell. Megan clenched her fists painfully and took a deep breath. Now, if she had to be strong to be honest, Megan Beam, an ophthalmic surgeon with 17 years of experience, never thought she would find herself in such a situation. She tried to maintain her posture, lifting her chin proudly, let him see that she had not completely fallen apart and could stand up for herself. In her hands, Megan clutched a leather briefcase containing the folder with documents, the certificate of her 20-year marriage to Donald. "The judge will start the session soon," whispered Frank Barlow. Megan nodded in agreement, trying to avoid making eye contact with her husband. Soon the judge entered the courtroom, a woman in her 50s with an impassive face and a stern gaze. Her presence instantly filled the room with an icy silence. "The Beecham case," she announced in a deep, well-modulated voice. Scanning the documents, "we are considering the petition for divorce." Then, pausing slightly, Joanna Carrington looked at Donald and Whitney. "Which of you is the plaintiff?" "I am," Donald said, his voice steady and calm. "And who are you, ma'am?" the judge asked Whitney. "I am his wife, or rather his future wife," Whitney replied, trying to smooth over the awkward situation with a smile. "Normally, cohabitants don't introduce themselves in court, but since you're here, I'll tell you that Donald Beam has filed a petition for the division of jointly acquired property with his ex-wife, Megan Beam," the judge remarked in an icy tone, and continued, "Well, then let's proceed in order. Megan Beam, please introduce yourself in the established form and state your demands." "Megan Beam, I demand an equal division of jointly acquired property." "Donald Beam, what are your demands?" "I categorically disagree with such a division, but if it comes to that, I would like it to happen only at my initiative. Also, I don't want to pay anything to either Megan or our son. He has a great scholarship. He pays for his own housing and food." "Right, Donald." Whitney couldn't help but interject. "Whitney Charlson, I hope you are aware that by law you have no say in this process," the judge asked, grimacing. "Yes," Whitney said, "but I want to support my loved one." "Wonderful. Then let's move on to discussing the property." Megan Beam, please provide evidence of its existence. All the property is registered in my husband's name, the apartment 2 cars company shares, and all the documents related to it. Frank Barlow, do you have anything to say? Your Honor, I want to request the disqualification of the judge in this case. We believe the request for disqualification is denied. Joanna Carrington interrupted the lawyer. Very well. Then I ask you to note that our side has no evidence of the plaintiff's property. By law, anything acquired during the marriage is considered jointly acquired property. But Megan began to speak. Be quiet, Donald interrupted her. I'm not giving you anything. You can get your registration at the dump. Now that's where you belong. And you have no place in my apartment. Stop clowning around. Donald, Megan whispered, embarrassed by her husband's outburst. I want to remind you, Donald said through gritted teeth, we lived in my apartment, purchased with my parents' money, but we renovated it together, and my parents paid back half the amount within 3 years. After the wedding, Megan countered, and the furnishings in the apartment are the result of our joint effort. By law, the apartment is my client's property. Donald's lawyer rudely interrupted her. I see no grounds for its division. I dare say that Donald Beam did indeed provide documents of ownership, the judge confirmed, as well as documents showing that all movable property acquired during the marriage was paid for by his parents. Megan felt the blood drain from her face. She didn't know that Donald had so cleverly arranged all his affairs. You've lived with your husband for 20 years. The judge noted dividing the property is a rather complicated procedure that you should have discussed with your lawyer and your husband in advance. I didn't know, Megan whispered, unable to hold back her tears. I trusted Donald. I thought everything would go fairly. Trust is certainly good, the judge coldly announced, but in such matters evidence is important. Therefore, your petition for property division is denied, and the marriage is dissolved. Megan felt darkness closing in on her vision. She couldn't believe it had all ended this way. Why? Megan whispered, afraid she would burst into tears in the courtroom. Frank Barlow gently placed a hand on her shoulder. Don't cry, Megan Beam. We will fight again. We'll file an appeal. Trust me, we'll find a way. The main thing is not to lose heart. Megan exited the courtroom and found herself in the cold foyer. Tears strained down her face. She was trembling. She felt defeated, broken. Meanwhile, Donald, under the applause of his mistress, demonstratively handed the keys to one of his cars to his lawyer. Thank you for the good work. It was simply magnificent. Maestro Frederick Campbell smiled smugly. Glad to help. Contact me for anything. Believe me, I can do a lot in the world of law. Thank you, of course, but I'm sure I won't need your help anymore, Donald said deliberately loudly. The businessman's intention was clear, to let his ex-wife know that she had lost the battle. Megan pouted and dryly bidding farewell to Frank headed toward the exit. Stop, she realized that the transport she needed would arrive any minute now. Well, at least I got lucky here. As if to confirm her theory, a bus appeared around the corner. People began to cheer. Having endured the chilly autumn breeze at the stop, the interior of the bus packed with people seemed tight and stuffy to her. Megan squeezed through to a free seat and sat down, feeling a cold shiver run through her body. Opposite her sat a young mother with a crying child. The little one seemed to sense her depressed state and quieted down. Megan rummaged through her bag in search of a handkerchief. Her hands trembled. She wiped her tears, trying to put a calm expression on her face. Then she took out her smartphone and opened the online painting course group. She wanted to distract herself, if only before a while. Painting had become her salvation in recent years. Amid endless surgeries and constant stress, she needed an outlet, something that calmed her and brought joy. Recently, she had stumbled upon this course, and since then had enjoyed immersing herself in the magical world of colors and brushes. It was her little hobby, a way to find comfort and creativity. Megan delighted in the fact that each line and brush stroke could express what was impossible to articulate in words. The community included many interesting people, among whom Michael stood out. He was very talented, and Megan had written to him several times expressing her admiration. To her great delight, a new message appeared from him in the community. Hello everyone, I finished working on a new study. I tried to capture the mood of today. I hope you like it. Here's the link. Megan opened it with curiosity and saw a canvas filled with deep shades of blue and delicate strokes of gold. Charming, she immediately wrote. I really love how you conveyed the light and shadow such tender melancholy. Thank you, Megan. Michael replied a minute later in the chat. I'm glad you liked it. I'm thrilled with this work myself today. I particularly wanted to pour my mood onto the canvas. I understand, she typed on the screen keyboard. Sometimes colors are the best medicine. Today is not my best day, but your work has calmed my soul a little. And what happened, if it's not a secret? You seem a bit upset. Megan suddenly felt the urge to speak out in this anonymous space. It was much easier than anywhere else. After all, no one knows each other face to face. Besides, the country is big. People write and share their work from every corner of the nation. I'm sorry, Michael, it's just that today is not a good day for me. Court divorce, it's all quite painful. Oh, he wrote, I'm really sorry. I can imagine how difficult this is, but don't lose hope. Life is all about constant change. Some of it is painful, but it also gives us a chance to grow, to change, and to discover something new. I went through a breakup once too. It was a long time ago, though we were only married for 5 years. We struggled to have children for a long time. I came back from a business trip a day early, and what did I find? A scene right out of the joke. Strange shoes in the hallway, and a man's voice coming from the bedroom. I felt a rush of blood to my head. I thought I would break something, but then I calmed down. My wife